Showdown on Capitol Hill, Republicans trying to rein in the power of federal judges as legal battles go on over President Trump's agenda.
Time and time again, rogue judges have asserted, as though they were 5 of the 9 members of the Supreme Court.
Republicans on this committee are sending a message to anyone who dares to stand up to Donald Trump. If you step out of line, they will target you next.
Our Constitution did not create a plural executive or judicial tyranny. Today, we're far too close to both.
If President Trump's agenda is as popular as he claims, he can work with his allies in Congress to convince the American people to support it.
Who gets to make the call? Is it the guy whose name was on the ballot, or is it some bureaucrat? Is it the guy who got 77 million votes, or some district judge?
Trump and Musk have been systematically violating the Constitution and breaking the law to trample the rights of the people.
Let's bring in Sunday Night in America host Trey Gowdy, former federal prosecutor and House Oversight Committee chairman. Trey, thank you for coming on. I just want to get your thoughts on what we heard out of the hearing today, because we've heard so much about these nationwide injunctions, and the message from Republicans is beginning to resonate with the general public that the courts are, being used as a tool of the left at this point.
Well, I mean, first of all, let's take a step back. I mean, both sides have enjoined presidents from doing things that they didn't like. It's just a much bigger scale right now. And if you dive into the numbers, it is usually Obama, Clinton, Biden-appointed judges that are enjoining the president. So the math is pretty simple. To become a federal judge, you need 50 senators plus the vice president. To become the president, you need 270 electoral votes. So they're really not equal with one another, Jackie. And if you think about our legal system, the higher up you go, the more people you have to get to agree with you. If you're on the Supreme Court, you got to convince 4 other people to agree with you. If you're on the Court of Appeals, you got to get one other person to agree with you. As a district court judge, and I used to work for one, I got a lot of them that are friends, but you can do it by yourself. So I don't think that's what was intended, and I think the public doesn't like it, so you're going to see reforms, not impeachments, but reforms.
Listen to what Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal said today. I want to get your reaction.
If you try to eliminate birthright citizenship, jail people for free speech, slash funding and fire people, and eliminate departments that are actually established by Congress, if you try to use Cold War era regulations to do mass deportations, then yeah, you're going to get nationwide injunctions. So maybe if you don't like the injunctions, stop doing the illegal stuff.
I mean, isn't the court supposed to determine whether something's illegal? I mean, did her last line hurt the Democrats there in their argument?
Yeah, well, I mean, so who says we have birthright citizenship? That was a Supreme Court decision. And just like the Supreme Court has changed its mind on other issues, the only way to figure out whether or not that's still good law is to do an executive order or pass a statute and have it go up. I just find it really rich that that Jayapal, who may be the most progressive member of the House, and that's saying something, she didn't have a problem when Barack Obama said, I'll do it with or without you. She didn't have a problem when Joe Biden said, what I'm about to do is probably unconstitutional with student loans, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think the American people would appreciate a little bit of consistency, a little less hypocrisy. This really should be a branch battle. Not a political battle, a branch battle between the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branches. If the president has overreached, the Supreme Court will tell him so. The question is whether one district court judge sitting in one courthouse can overrule someone who got 270 electoral votes. That's the issue. If you want to move it to the appellate court, if you want to create original jurisdiction in the Supreme Court, I don't think people would have a problem with that. But you have a single district court judge who may have barely made it through confirmation overruling a president, and I think that does trouble people.
Speaking of Obama, Congresswoman Jayapal might be surprised to hear what his appointee to the Supreme Court said on this issue. Take a listen.
It just can't be right that one district judge can stop a nationwide policy in its tracks and leave it stopped for the years that it takes to go through normal process.
Your final thought there.
Yeah, she said that while Joe Biden was president. I hope she still believes that with Donald Trump, because the judiciary would have a lot more respect if they didn't kind of ebb and flow depending on who was in the White House. I noticed the date. That was Joe Biden when Republicans were trying to enjoin him. Lady Justice wears a blindfold. She doesn't care who's in office. She doesn't care about politics. Shouldn't, at least.
Lady Justice wears a blindfold. We'll hope that continues. Thank you very much, Trey Gowdy, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
We should carefully study whether Congress should push back against judicial overreach using its constitutional power to structure and fund the courts. Our Constitution did not create a plural executive or judicial tyranny. Today, we're far too close to both.
A major House hearing on Capitol Hill today taking aim at judges blocking the Trump agenda. It's an issue getting a lot of attention on the Senate side as well. With the introduction of the Judicial Relief Clarification Act, this bill aims to clarify the scope of judicial power and resolve illegitimate judicial infringement upon the executive branch. It's something lawmakers say is needed to provide long-term constitutional clarity and curb district courts' growing tendency to overstep. My next guest is one of the lawmakers behind the act. He is Alabama Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville, who deserves, first of all, a thank you for the nice birthday wishes, Coach, and a congratulations, Auburn in the Final Four.
Yeah, that was a big game for Auburn the other day. They beat the whole state of Michigan, Michigan State and Michigan, and so we're looking forward to a big game with Florida this coming week.
Congratulations, War Eagle. Senator, back to that honorific now. Senator, tell me about this bill. Congressman Issa has one going in the House. Now you guys are working on one, you and Senator Grassley, to put one forward in the Senate. How do you limit federal district judges to just their jurisdiction, their scope into the executive branch?
Well, first of all, Will, we thought we were done with all this weaponization with President Trump in the White House and a Republican House, Republican Senate. We turned the DOJ around. We've got common sense back and knocked out all the weaponization, the deep state in the DOJ. Now, out of the bullpen, the Democrats can't do anything here. They just pulled out of the bullpen all these woke judges that are absolutely lost their mind, trying to slow down President Trump. That's not going to happen. But as you said, Senator Grassley and I have got a bill on the floor, and hopefully we'll have some action with it. But we've got to stop this nonsense. President Trump has had more injunctions against him in the first 2 months than President Biden had in 4 years. It's absolutely nonsense. We got to quit doing this. We got to give President Trump a chance, but the Democrats are scared to death of the American people and President Trump. They're going to do everything they can do to slow him down.
Here's the numbers as you referenced them. Here's the numbers since 1963, which, by the way, Senator, that's when it started exploding. Just as an idea, these injunctions and TROs against the executive from district judges really started then. As you can see how much more it is with President Trump than other presidents. Here's the challenge, I think, Senator, and I talked to Congressman Roy about this. If the shoe's on the other foot, if you have a Democratic president who is overrunning the Constitution, you do need a judge that can stop him. So how do you set in place a process where these TROs aren't abused like we just saw, but can still be used to stop an unconstitutional president?
Well, that's a great question, and I deal with all my lawyer buddies up here every day, and I listen to them talk. Being a former football coach, that's a little over my pay grade, but at the end of the day, it's got to be a quicker reference to the Supreme Court when it comes to the President of the United States.
Yes.
We cannot sit around and let these federal judges play keep away from the American people from getting the laws done the way the President of the United States has been elected to do. So we got to get it quicker to the Supreme Court. We've got to get these woke judges on both sides. If you're Republican or Democrat, let the American people speak. Elect somebody to do the job that they're supposed to do. But all this is, again, this four corners basketball, keep away, all they're trying to do. It's not going to work. President Trump is not going to listen to them, and the Supreme Court's going to back him up at the end of the day.
There's a lot of ways we could do it, Senator. You could say a quick appellate decision to a circuit court, whatever it may be. There's a lot of ways we could preserve this process, but limit these district judges who are clearly in the tank one side or another. Hey, listen, as somebody who went to law school, don't let your lawyer buddies push you around, right? There's a lot of common sense learned, like that four corners basketball analogy, and no better way to be a leader of men than a coach. Everywhere from Texas Tech to Auburn. We love having you on the show, Senator. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Will. God bless.
Judiciary Committee is kicking off a series of hearings on, quote, activist judges and their rulings against President Trump's agenda. And many Republicans arguing it's time to rein these judges in. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley has his own proposal. He's here to talk about it. That's coming up next. But first, we're going to send it out to senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram. He is live on Capitol Hill. So, Chad, how do Republicans plan on tackling this?
Bill, good afternoon. Well, legislation is one option. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan wants to explore tightening the purse strings to the courts. And since Congress created these district courts, Republicans have a bill to limit the scope of their rulings.
Time and time again, rogue judges have asserted, as though they were 5 of the 9 members of the Supreme Court, their authority when the president was doing nothing more than undoing a policy of his predecessor, one which they seem to have no problem with in the previous administration.
Republicans believe the judges went too far by issuing nationwide injunctions when ruling against President Trump. But Democrats believe the GOP is trying to send a warning shot to federal judges.
Our Republican colleagues have called this hearing today for one reason, because this White House, this president continues to lose over and over again in court.
The House plans to vote tomorrow on a bill to limit the parameters of federal rulings. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich was among the witnesses. He argues that Congress should intervene to control lower courts.
15 district judges effectively seized control of various executive branch duties in the first 6 weeks of the current presidency through nationwide injunctions. This is potentially a judicial coup d'etat.
But some Republicans don't think legislation is enough. They want to impeach or remove judges. House Speaker Mike Johnson did not answer if the legislation was an effort to dampen impeachment talk for some judges by arch conservatives. Bill?
Yeah, it seems like we get a new ruling from a federal judge blocking some Trump policy almost at every day at this point. Chad Pergram, live in D.C. for us. Chad, thank you.
Republican Senator Chuck Grassley joins us now, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Sir, thank you for coming on. We did see that you have a proposal. It's in the Wall Street Journal, a bill to stop nationwide injunctions. You write more than 2/3 of all universal injunctions issued over the past 25 years were levied against the first Trump administration. In the past 2 months alone, you write, judges have issued at least 15 universal injunctions against the administration, surpassing the 14 President Biden faced throughout his 4-year term. So, how do you plan to carry this out?
Okay, we would limit the injunction that a judge could do to his district and to the parties before the court, as opposed to a national injunction that would apply it to the other 92 districts around the United States. This would keep judges from being policymakers. It would have them making just judicial decisions for the party before them. Our legislation would also go on to another step, if it's necessary, to speed up the process of appeal if people disagreed with it. But we need to have judges do the case in controversy. Those are words from the Constitution, and not deal with policy making, and not have one of 700 district judges make a decision that applies throughout the United States. We should have bipartisan support for this.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. Meanwhile, there's a big day happening tomorrow. Would be happening today, Caroline Leavitt said, if it weren't for April Fool's Day, April 1st. So tomorrow's Liberation Day, as the administration is calling it, and Democrats are going after these tariffs. Here's some of what we're hearing.
He calls it Liberation Day. It could be Obliteration Day. To have an all-out war with Canada, with every country in the world who was a major trading partner, that could have catastrophic economic consequences.
Tariffs are likely to be catastrophic to our defense industry and our supply chain in Connecticut and elsewhere around the country. I think tariffs are an impending national security threat.
It could really tank the economy. The overall economy is what we would expect.
This while a business owner here in the U.S., Redland Cotton founder Mark Yeager, tells our own Lydia Hu this could be a good thing. Listen.
I think tariffs could help. I think we've got nothing to lose by trying them, especially in textiles. If you look at the rates that it would cost us to send our product to China, India, it's astronomical. So the reciprocal thing, I think it could help. I think it could supercharge our industry, more mills in the supply chain, more finishers, the whole thing, and make something like this a whole lot more feasible.
So, Senator, what say you? Are these tariffs going to be good for America?
Well, it might surprise the people in this country that we have a political leader that was elected by a big margin, both electoral and popular, and he's carrying out a promise he made in the election to bring manufacturing to the United States, and increasing tariffs is part of it. I hope the end result of the tariffs is that by putting on reciprocal tariffs, it brings other countries to bring their tariffs down. And I think if we had less tariffs throughout the world, we'd have a stronger, not only U.S. economy, but we'd have a stronger world economy.
Senator, always appreciate when you could join us. Appreciate your time. Two big, important issues we'll be watching. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.